Hi folks, today we're going to take a look at Tricube Tactics right after the intro. Hi folks, and welcome to Sharp Mountain Games. Here we talk about group games, solo games, and we even have some actual plays in our live tab. You can also check out our print and PDF products at Amazon, Roll20, DriveThru, and Lulu, and they're all linked below. Now let's get to the good stuff. So today let's take a look at Tricube Tactics by Richard Woolcock of Zadmar Games. Now first of all, this is not a standalone game. You need the Tricube Tales main book to use Tactics. However, the phone PDF for both of them are completely free. So there's really no buy-in cost just to check them out. And the PDFs and even the print copies, they're really cheap on DriveThru. And I have a link for the print copy of this book down in the description down below. And you can see a lot of nice artwork in here too. So what is Tactics? You can see this is a 119-page book that provides more character and combat options for Tricube Tales. Now, in the introduction, the author admits that you can play Tricube Tales just fine without the Tactics book. And he also suggests you may not want to use everything that's in the book anyway. Let me tell you, there's a lot in this little book. In fact, I'm not even going to be able to cover it all. We'll just try to hit the high points. So, a really great suggestion in this book is to slowly introduce the Tactics rules into your game. Let your players get comfortable with the main rules first, and then you can add things you like or as they come up, and like he says, that you can cherry pick the rules here and how to transition into that. So, and there's also minions, which is new. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, and Knacks. And now what he does here is he takes the three main attributes, brawny, crafty, and agile, and suggests some different uses, like you could maybe have some specialties in them. But these are split off from combat. So, in other words, you wouldn't only be brawny, for example. You would also pick a combat specialty like melee, ranged, or mental. Now, why would you want to do this split? What it does is it allows you to customize your characters a little more. You could be a brawny dwarf who's really good at ranged combat. So the brawny descriptor would really come into play, more outside of combat. And you'd use the range combat, within. So this really allows players to customize their characters if they'd like. And you also get a starting knack, and we'll talk a little bit more. He has the knacks away from the character stuff. That's something I would have arranged a little bit differently, but, it's his book anyway. So, for example, we start to see some of these characters here. Where was a dwarf? Here we go. Here's a brawny marine. So they're very good maybe at lifting things and all, but they're more of a ranged combat. So you can specify that. And they still have the perks and the quirks. And the knack is basically something extra that you get to do. Just a little bit extra, kind of like a feat. So let's flip along here a little bit more. And he gets into the actions here. Now, here's where it gets really specific. Really, the next 60 pages or so are dedicated to combat situations. I mean, the book is called Tactics. It's not called Pickin' Smurfberries. So he has all kinds of attack and escape, and then he gets into, there's like simple actions and swift actions and free actions. So if you really are into action economy from games like Pathfinder and D&D and Savage Worlds, as I understand it, that would really be something that might be up your alley. And he gets into things like zones and initiatives and stunts and dual wielding. If you want something in combat, it's probably here. But I would say this section is probably going to be a matter of taste. However, the author does try to keep most of the benefits and penalties somewhat similar to the main rules. And also I should mention too, when you buy it, you get a two-sided rules primer. So when you purchase the PDF or the PDF book combo, you get this 2-page rules primer. And the reason why that's good is because it really has a lot of the material, distilled down, almost kind of bullet points, where you can really find it easy, or if you want to use it as a GM screen. So as I said, there's a lot here, but the 2-page thing really gives you a good idea of things, of how it works. Now let me tell you a little bit more about the minions, because I kind of skipped that a little bit earlier. So now you can have a minion, and they take only 1 point of damage for you in combat. So that's right, you can have a little buddy or an animal companion take one for the team. And well, the team being just you. But you can use them in other ways too. So you can actually put your minion in harm's way. Now, instead of a minion, you can take a knack. And let's flip to, he gets a little bit more into afflictions. This is similar to Fate, where if you lose all your hit points, you could take an affliction. And it could be a permanent affliction, or it could be a little bit less. I guess it depends on the game. But in this book, he gives you some examples of wound severity or even hit locations if you want. And then we get to Knacks here. So these are extra things your character can do, like maybe you can quickly draw a weapon. Or you might have one where you can lower your difficulty by 2 rather than just 1. Usually with a perk, you just lower the difficulty by 1. And some of the magic ones are called freeform knacks. And this may require you to spend karma. So maybe you're trying to do something that's really big, a big effect in your game, like conjuring another minion or something really powerful. Now, you might even be able to use your freeform knacks to simulate a superpower, like for a speedster like the Flash. And some even give you a reroll of a single die. So they can have a really big chance of improving your chances of success or possibly getting that exceptional success. And there's movement and reroll. He talks about the scope. So one thing I would say about this book, I'm saying it's really well done, is he's thought about all this stuff. I don't think he's just throwing it out there. I think that Richard Wilcock of Zadmar Games really, did try to be very thoughtful and to keep things in line with regular Tricube Tales. And then lastly, there's an enemy section. And they get a little bit more detailed. So you get some special abilities. But for example, if we look at this battle robot, all these numbers are the difficulty numbers depending on what you want to go against. So if you want to engage it in melee, it's a 5. If you want to try and hit with a range shot, it's a 6. If you want to be crafty with it, maybe to try and convince it, to con it or something, it gives you a number. And he does that for, there's some that are science fiction, and the cultist would be maybe more for fantasy or modern horror or something like that. And of course, you have to get a dragon. So he gives you all these extra challenge numbers if you want to use them. So should you buy the book? Really, it's all about the crunch. If you like combat details and you're trying to simulate some of the combat details and situations from other games, then of course, it's very cheap. Even the print copy is very cheap. And this can be a great reference for when things come up in play. Now, if you don't like a lot of crunch, you might be just fine with using the plain old Tricube Tales main rulebook. However, I do think there are some good things in here. You could have it as a reference, even if you don't want to use everything. And the author says you don't have to use everything. For example, stunning an opponent. That's a pretty common thing in, most gaming situations. And of course, the rules are here. They're under the stunts. So I really hope this overview helped. And of course, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.